So I'm going into a business meeting, and I'm going into some serious negotiations for my business. And obviously, I would like the outcome of those negotiations to be in my favor.
Right.
Right. So give me like 2 or 3 key steps that I need to think about in order to influence the outcome of that meeting.
Okay. Well, we get out of the world of hypnosis and we get into the world of neuro-linguistic programming when we talk about that. And oftentimes they're used together. In fact, the creators of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, are also interested in hypnotherapy, and vice versa. People who are interested in hypnotherapy are interested in NLP. So they kind of lend nicely to each other. So when we get into NLP, the techniques that we can use would be basic rapport building strategies. For example, you want to mirror someone. So if you're standing a certain way or your hand is in a certain position, I might do something similar to that in order for you to feel rapport with me. Now, you have to realize that a lot of people are keen to that. A lot of people know about that. They've taken basic sales techniques, training, and they're looking for that. So you have to be very careful to do it. I recommend building in a little bit of a delay. So if you move your hand, I'll move my hand slowly and not exactly when you do. And also keep in mind that it's like a mirror. So in a mirror, if you move your right hand, the mirror moves its left hand. So you have to keep that in mind. You're producing a mirror image of somebody. Another technique that's very powerful is anchoring. So if I want to anchor you to feeling that I am a very motivated person, then every time I say the word motivated, I will touch within a 1-foot radius of my solar plexus. So, for example, I'm talking about a lot of words, and then I'm saying, I really enjoy how everyone here is so motivated. And when I say the word motivated, I'm touching that area. What that does is creates an anchor between an association between the word motivated and me, sort of like Pavlov and his dogs. He could ring a bell and let them smell meat powder. Eventually, all he had to do was ring a bell. So I am creating that association subliminally without you even realizing it in your mind.
Okay. So this whole NLP thing, this is neuro-linguistics programming. If I get the
neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay, if I get the definition of that correct, it's like the science of arranging thoughts and actions in our head or externally to achieve a desired outcome.
I'm going to write that down for my next book. Yes, that is very succinctly put. I like that.
Okay, great. Yes. So, okay, I'm in this business meeting, and let's bump off of what you just said a minute ago. So I'm negotiating with a very savvy negotiator,
okay.
A very savvy person on the other side who understands the elements of rapport, who understands the elements of mirroring and anchoring, etc.
Right.
Right. So I'm in that meeting.
Oh boy.
And the moment I start in on that stuff, they're like, "Oh, this guy's just playing me."
Right.
So, all right. So, what are the advanced or elevated levels of this science of influence so that we can get the desired outcome on those meetings?
Okay, you have to go under the radar at that point. If you even think that they know what and this is not about fooling people. This is about establishing a rapport because you're a good person and you have something good to share with them and you want them to be on board with that. So you're not trying to trick them or get them to believe in something that's not real. You're just attempting to break through all that, the icebreaker stuff and really get to the heart of things because you have something quality to share with them. So we need to go a little bit more in depth with this. You need to start looking for their pulse, either on their neck or sometimes on their head, anywhere you can see their pulse. And
I got to tell you, but the images in my mind is like, I'm negotiating with them. I'm looking at your carotid artery.
Yes, looking at your carotid. And then
shake my hand so I can feel your pulse. All right, go ahead.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But you need to get comfortable with this so you practice with friends. So once you see their pulse, you can do something we call pacing. Pacing is something very powerful. So if I see your pulse and I see that it's going like this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, I can start doing something rhythmic with my hand on the table. Perhaps I'm tapping in the same rhythm as your pulse. That, at a subliminal level, at an unconscious level that you are not detecting, establishes rapport. I'm establishing physiological rapport with you. Suddenly, your subconscious mind, which is aware of your pulse rate, is realizing that this person's hand is moving in the same rhythm, at the same pace as that. That's what we call it pacing. So you're going to feel a rapport with me because of that.
Like unconsciously or subconsciously?
Yes, you will not be consciously aware of it.
How long does it take?
It varies for people, but I would do it for at least a minute.
Okay.
And you can keep doing it. I mean, as long as it's not distracting them, tapping your hand here. I'm doing it, and you're probably catching it with your peripheral vision. It's not something that I'm doing blatantly. I'm just doing it like this. I'm doing it under the radar.
I'm just checking to see if your tapping hand
1
is
and 2, and make sure you have a pulse.
Coordinated with mine.
If my hand stops tapping, we have a real problem.
So we're in a negotiation here, okay? And and it seems to be going well, let's just say,
Right.
for example, right? But we know the elements of negotiation within any business arrangement are, you know what your outcomes are. You go into the negotiation knowing
Have
the
to.
outcomes that you want, right?
Yes.
This is not a guessing game.
Right.
I know that I want that prospective customer to do X, Y, Z.
Right. Yes.
So we're going along through the negotiations. Everything's fine. We feel like we've built the elements of rapport, and then all of a sudden, the negotiation turns south. It's like they get up, or they move in a different way, or they throw out an objection that we didn't think of, or they genuinely do not see the value of what we're presenting. Any of those scenarios.
Okay.
So as a negotiator, with the elements or the science of influence, then how do we get back on track?
You need to segue into something we call leading, which is the whole purpose of pacing, actually. So I've paced your pulse, or I've paced something about you, something that you do. Maybe I've paced the pattern of your voice, and I mimic that with my hand, or by tapping my foot, or with my own voice. Maybe I'm pacing you that way. So once I've paced you for a while and established that subconscious rapport, then I can move over into what's called leading. I can lead you. So now I can start doing things, little motions, and I'm seeing if you're following along. Leading is better to do with mirroring. So I'm not mirroring you exactly, but I'm hoping you will mirror me. So I'm now taking charge. Once I've established that rapport through pacing, I'm going to do something with it. So I'm going to start moving my hand. I'm going to start scratching the back of my head, for example, or sitting in a certain way. And I'm going to see if you do it. Now, you could be doing it just because you want to mirror me, but hopefully you're doing it, and this can get very tricky if it's a back and forth thing, but hopefully you're doing it because you are now following along. I have now taken control of your physical body movements, and therefore some of your thoughts, because you are, and it's signified by the fact that you are now doing what I'm doing. So I have then pulled you back into the situation.
It sounds like you've possessed them or something.
Yes, I own your soul at this point.
I'm imagining that
Speaking
there are
of that.
folks in the audience that are saying that sounds really manipulative.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to, first of all, this technology can be misused, obviously, if it's in the wrong hands. But the premise of this is that you're a good person, and whatever you're promoting, whatever you're working with them on is a good thing. And you know that. You're not trying to trick them into anything. All you're attempting to do here is to get over that rapport thing, because there are so many business propositions that you know would be great for that person. And the only thing holding them back from their success, it's a win-win, and you know that. And the only thing holding them back from making this happen is they don't fully trust you. So you've got to bridge that gap. And this is very helpful when it's someone you have never met before and you want to just get through that. Okay, trust me, I've got a good thing. But the premise is that you've got something good and you're a good person. In the wrong hands, yes, this could be misused.
He's Stephen G. Jones. I'm Paul Montalongo, and my guest co-host is Heather Vale Goss. And we will return in a few minutes back to the Paul Montalongo Get a Grip Business Radio Show after these messages.